Hi, Jesus Professor here, and in this episode of Jesus 101, we're asking the question, is it prostitution to run a church like a business? A friend recently posted a meme suggesting that it's prostitution to run a church like a business. A thought-provoking question worthy of consideration, but a question I think that many fans of Christian institutions would prefer to ignore. Most Christian institutions have some kind of administrator whose job it is to consider the cash flow so that all the workers get paid and all the obligations get met. I don't think Jesus minds this. The thing that angers the Lord is when cash flow thinking dominates many of the spiritual decisions to the point that the church becomes hypocritical when telling the sheep to trust God and worry less about money.
Shout Jesus from the mountains and Jesus in the streets, Jesus in the darkness over every enemy, Jesus for my family, I speak the holy name.
In the same way that discerning whether an individual believer or a household is more focused on money than on Jesus can be a challenge, so is discerning whether an institution is more focused on the money than on the work of Jesus. Some clues I look for are if they prioritize institutional self-preservation, and I also look for institutional narcissism. By prioritizing institutional self-preservation, I mean the unwillingness to take risks for doing what is right in their stated mission, and I mean risks of similar or greater magnitude to the risks they expect their donors and their audience to take. By institutional narcissism, I mean loving the image of the institution to the point of lying, hiding, and covering up institutional sins and the sins of the staff in cases where disclosure of these sins is likely to lead to a decrease in attendance or a decrease in giving. My experience is that a lot of Christian schools are guilty of this kind of prostitution. By gifting grades, awarding grades that weren't earned, they reveal that they are more interested in the continual flow of tuition dollars than the intellectual honesty of accurately telling parents and downstream stakeholders how much or how little their students have really learned. By closing their eyes to students' sins on campus that relate to porn and sexting on cell phones and computers, these Christian schools reveal once again that they prefer not to risk scandal rather than live up to the discipleship and the behavioral expectations that are set in their handbooks and in Scripture itself. By adopting de facto don't ask, don't tell policies regarding teacher and staff behavior relating to fornication, pornography, and adulterous remarriage, these schools reveal that for the salaries they pay, they pretty much have to take what they can get in terms of academically qualified staff who pass the background checks. So let's remember that we need to consider our own home institutions first. Is your church guilty of prostitution? Is your Christian school guilty of prostitution? Well, look at it. Do they value money to the point of institutional narcissism or prioritizing institutional preservation? Hi. Suicide rates are rising rapidly. So most Jesus followers should prepare ourselves for a more active role in preventing suicides. We are on the front line since pros rarely get involved until a foot soldier helps connect people in crisis with trained professionals. E94.org is a Christian ministry dedicated to equipping the church to prevent suicide through free training of foot soldiers to prevent suicide through training, consulting, and resources. Get equipped to give hope and help and confidently refer people to professional counselors. Learn more at e94.org. Thank you.